What's up, YouTube? It's Bridget and Eddie from Eddie's Health Shop. We're back again. This time we're going to do more of a informational type of video, kind of going over our top 5 basic tips towards being healthy, mostly diet related. And we kind of wanted to do this to offer our perspective, to kind of simplify it down. A lot of you might already know that Eddie does consults on a daily basis, typically at the West Knoxville store, where he goes into much more detail, kind of personalizes it based off the individual, going more into like macros, meal timing, types of foods, different things like that, more specific to that person. But this is just kind of a simplified version, tips anyone can benefit from, and things we do typically promote in the consults as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like Bridget said, these tips are, simple, easy to follow. Mm-hmm. We'll start with the first one, which this is a kind of what I use in my consults as well, is what I call the 3 rules. So the 3 rules, basically, number 1 is to always make sure each one of your meals you're getting enough protein. Protein is really important. That's the foundation. That's your muscles. That'll keep you full. So you should always try to get at least a minimum amount of protein. That minimum is going to depend on you, your goals, your age. I would say for most people it starts as low as 10 grams and maybe go up to like 25 as a minimum. And usually on average, most females I would put it around 12 to 15, and the guys I would say closer to 20-ish.
And he's talking per each time you eat.
Exactly. So getting enough protein, having that minimal amount, that's a very important rule. The second rule is that with that in mind, that you have enough food surrounding it so that every time you eat, you still stay full till the next meal. If you get hungry too soon, that's not good. That creates potential issues like you getting hungry later. So we want to make sure that the portions are still big enough to keep you full. That's usually not an issue with breakfast, lunch, and dinner with most people, but can be an issue if they're doing the snacks in between, and then they may be too small, and that still kind of defeats the purpose. So making sure that we eat enough. And my third rule is to make sure that we don't spike our blood sugar, because we know that when we spike our blood sugar, that's when things go wrong. We get tired, we get fatigued, later we get hungry, we don't feel as good, we get headaches if we overdo it. So those 3 rules are very important. We can go a little bit more into details. You want to add to that?
No, I think that's good. It's kind of just like a good baseline that you can ask yourself every time you go to have a meal. Does it have enough protein? Is it enough to keep me full until the next time I'm going to be able to eat? And is it going to spike my blood sugar? And kind of following those principles, to be honest, that could be all that we left you with today, and it would be really good baseline to help you going forward. But we do want to go into a little bit more detail to kind of make things a little bit easier on you. It kind of goes naturally into our next one, which is to eat more frequent, smaller meals. And we say smaller, and that just means smaller than what you'd think of as a traditional meal. Basically, it's going to be keeping your calorie intake consistent each time you eat. So, a lot of people, if they aren't necessarily trying to be healthy, they might kind of pick and choose snacks throughout the day and then have a 1,000-calorie dinner. That's what we're trying to avoid here. If you do maybe like 300, 400 calorie meals 5 to 6 times a day, you're going to be in such a better environment. People kind of argue this multiple meals a day type of thing. They say, oh, you don't need to do that. You can kind of do a good thing fasting or just eating 3 meals a day. And yeah, that's true. You can lose weight doing any diet that you're in a caloric deficit. But we believe, and from our experience, when you do eat those frequent, more smaller meals, it's going to set you up for success. You're not going to be starving, and you're not going to want to binge as much. And it's just going to keep your metabolism going. Eating does burn calories. So if you're eating smaller meals more frequently, it's going to keep things moving.
That's exactly right. So I like to refer to that as keeping the best environment possible for your day. Like Bridget said, any of those other ways of doing it, including just eating the typical 3 meals a day, can still work. But there's things that could go wrong that causes you to derail. You might get hungry, you might not feel as good, you might crave things, where with the concept of the smaller meals throughout the day, those things are much harder to happen.
Yeah,
so we're trying to create an environment where it's easier to succeed.
So the next tip is going to be to know your portions. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to weigh out every single thing that you put in your body every day of the year. No. But I do suggest knowing your portions, getting familiar with that, buying a food scale, and just learning, what does 4 ounces of protein meat look like? What does a serving of rice look like? And, kind of experimenting with that and knowing what your portions are so that you kind of know what you're putting into your body and you can estimate better moving forward, estimate better if you go out to eat, and just really know how much you're consuming.
Yeah, I agree exactly. And what Bridget said about, this full scale or kind of putting into a nap or initially that's good because sometimes guessing you won't really know. But once you kind of know, then you don't have to continue to do that necessarily.
Right.
You know what your portions are, and then you can just go with the flow. But you got to kind of know what they are at first.
Yeah. So next tip is going to be to eat more voluminous foods. And with that, also eating less processed foods. So the less processed your food is and the more voluminous it is, the more likely it is to going to keep you stay full and have more nutrition to it. This doesn't necessarily, the volume part doesn't apply to all people because I know some people who genuinely don't have that much of an appetite. If you start eating more frequently, your appetite probably will increase. But if you're someone who, you cut your calories back, you're trying to lose weight and you're just starving, the more vegetables you eat, the more things that, the more salad. I'm talking about food that takes up space but not with a lot of calories. That's going to help you stay full, help you stick to your calorie goals. So that's a really important tip. And then with things being less processed, just think about it. If you eat some candy, the calories will stack up so quickly. Whereas if you eat broccoli, chicken, and rice, 400 calories of that is going to make you full, no matter what.
No, that's a great point. And like Bridget said, when you're eating better throughout the day, smaller meals, that dinner doesn't quite have to be that way, but it's only a good thing.
Yep.
And especially these fibrous, these green vegetables, those are really important and they're very voluminous. So there's multiple benefits. And then the water that you drink too, if you're doing a good job with that, that's going to keep you fuller too. So sometimes the snacking at night is because of what we've gotten used to during the day.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes you fix during the day and then it's just left to being a habit. And when you do a really good job with this point, then that habit is much easier to break because you're literally kind of full. So it just makes everything work a lot better.
Yeah, I talk to so many people who they try not to eat a lot during the day, they don't eat a lot, and then at night they're starving, so they just go crazy. All these tips are going to help you avoid that.
Yeah, and I've been guilty, like even though I teach people not to do that, I've done it myself. I'll admit it. Like I'm guilty of that at times, but when it happens, I know what's happened. I can literally just sit there and know this is what I did. And this is why I feel the way I do. And then on the days that I don't do that, I can totally tell, like, oh, I feel great, I'm full. So it does make a big difference.
Definitely. All right, our final tip is going to be to make healthy swaps for foods you already enjoy. So, we've been talking about some super, super healthy things like chicken and rice and broccoli, but you can definitely just make swaps for things that you enjoy and that you're still going to enjoy while they're healthy. You don't need to eat a bodybuilder bro diet. No, that's not necessary. You can have like one example of something we have here, we have outer aisle cauliflower crusts. You can make pizzas with those and it's super filling and it's definitely going to be way lower calorie than pizza. You can have different kinds of healthy pasta options, whether it's like the really low carb noodles or like the bonza pasta, which is high protein. Basically any recipe you look up, you can make healthier, kind of using your own knowledge or just looking up healthy recipes. You can look up healthy tacos, you can look up healthy pasta, anything that you already do enjoy. And kind of with that, we did want to mention some different things that we sell at our store that are really awesome. Like, for example, if you're a chip person, the Quest chips are amazing.
Yeah, and Bridget brings up a great point because she's been in this industry from the time where all these choices have kind of come along, where, used to, it would be a bodybuilding diet. Like, when I did bodybuilding about 14 years ago, there wasn't all these choices. We didn't have Trader Joe's, we didn't have Whole Foods, we didn't have Airfare, we didn't have all these different sauces, these different things that are made healthy but still like good. So we had to be boring. You had to choke down on the chicken and things, and there probably was a little bit you could do, but most people didn't know.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of choices, whether it just be recipes. Sometimes it's just putting a little bit of a healthy sauce into something and totally change the whole recipe around. So there's many ways that you can make things that are kind of boring be amazing, including some of the things that she mentioned that we have here. She mentioned the Quest chips.
This is another awesome one. The Zenevo peanut butter cups.
Yeah, so I'm a little biased since I helped, make these and develop them, but I did it with this concept.
Yeah, and if you do have any kind of chocolate craving, Reese's peanut butter cup type of craving, they definitely work really well for that.
It's a great alternative. It tastes really good, and we use dark chocolate, but you can't tell it's dark chocolate because of the peanut butter and everything. So you're getting a lot of health benefits in there.
And one really other awesome thing about the shakes like that is it does fit into the multiple meals a day really nicely, especially like you said, if you have a job where it's not practical to sit down to a meal every single time you want to eat. But yeah, those are basically all of our top 5 main tips for healthy diet. It doesn't necessarily apply to weight loss. You definitely can apply weight loss to this, but if you just want a healthy diet, an environment for success, to feel really good, then this is a way to eat where I'm sure you will have all of those things.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll just have more videos about other things that can complement this, like certain healthy supplements you could take. But for today, we just wanted to work on foundation.
Yep.
And we feel like those 5 tips are the best foundation.
For sure. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And if you do have any other videos you'd like to see from us, comment down below, and we'll be sure to do those. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.